what's up, man? How's it hanging? How's it happen? You guys know who it is. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast, the podcast that Rolling Stone magazine says initiates profound discussions with rock and metal artists, allowing fans to discover the creative workflow of their favorite musicians and understand the factors that make the band succeed or fall from fame. We are also sponsored by Dark Fusion Systems, the best your Cubs computing needs. Get $100 off your entire bill. Use code CVPOD at darkfusionsystems.com to show the podcast below. Let's get to our feature presentation. Initiates profound discussions with rock and metal artists, letting fans discover the creative workflow of their favorite musicians and understand the factors that make the band succeed or fall from fame. This is the perfect one for a band that you need to know about. That's just going to get started and get you into them even more. We have Shawn and Zach from the band SoulKiller on the podcast. If you liked I the Breather when you were younger, this is Shawn from that band. This is his new thing, SoulKiller, with these great guys. Zach is also with us as well. We talk about this band. We talk about how they're ED metalcore? Yeah, EDM metalcore and a whole bunch more mixed in there. How they're kind of look at themselves like a band for the future, but we really dive deep, not only into the band, not only into the music and how they became a band, but also the focus they put on bringing positivity to not only themselves as the band, but the family that is the band and everyone else that comes in contact with them with their music and with their message. So this is a great one. Let's get into it. You ready? Let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. This band being on here is the reason why you go and see shows and you go and make sure you see every band on the bill. Back in August of 2024, I got to go see Woe Is Me play at the West Chicago Social Club, and these guys opened for them. And I remember my buddy and Chris and I looked at each other like, this is freaking good. Holy shit. All right. Then a month later, I got to see them open up for Of Virtue in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And it was like, okay, this is incredible. This is awesome. Got to talk to the guys. And now bing, bang, boom, they are here. I don't know what to classify their sound as. Let's just put it as if you like metal, if you like metalcore, and you like some good shit, this is where you want to be. Beyond that, they've got a brand new EP called Breathless, which comes out on November 1st. So you can listen to it now. Well, after this interview, because it'll already be out by the time, but we're recording this is right before the release of it, so hell yeah. So beyond that, instead of us going on and on about this band, why don't we just talk to them about it and get you guys to know them even more. So please welcome Shawn and Zach from the band SoulKiller to the podcast. So gentlemen, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
Hey, thank you.
You are very welcome. How are you guys doing today? I know the EP will be out by the time this releases, but I mean, we're right about to see the release of it. So how you guys feeling at the moment?
Shawn? I want you to start.
Great, man. Life is good, man. This is a long time coming, so I'm ready to get this stress off my shoulders. I know Zach is as well, too.
Yeah. It's definitely been tough. Like, I know the last couple months, all of us have been kind of going through our own things on the side while trying to really figure out when we're going to put this all together and get it out finally. It's definitely been a ride.
Definitely a ride, but I mean, just the way you guys are speaking about it, it's a ride that was worth taking because once it comes out, once you get it out there, not only are people going to be able to see everything that you guys are about with SoulKiller, really get a full feel for the sound, but beyond that, be able to expand even further to what you guys are going to do potentially with touring going into 2025, what you're going to do with other new music going into 2025, and where the band is going to expand from there. So you're setting yourself up to really like burst out onto the scene coming into the next year. So you're pretty much setting yourself up for success at this point.
Yeah, we really hope so. We've only been a band for a year and 3 months. We've just been constantly turning out music on our own and, making sure that even though we're working on the EP and finalizing everything with that we're not taking any breaks on making sure that we have more to come after. Consistency is key.
Consistency is always key in something like this. We've seen a lot of bands over the course of time where they release something and then they sit on it and then nothing really happens. And over time, it's just, especially in today's day and age where streaming is such a huge thing, staying consistently in the algorithm, playing that game becomes more, prominent than ever. I know it's not a fun game to play. I know you'd rather play it in a completely different way, but that's the way the music industry is. That's the way people are consuming music, so you have to play it that way. But being consistent in what you do, whether it's releasing music, releasing quality music, going out and playing live, making sure that consistency is there, delivering what people, I'm not saying what people expect to hear, but it's delivering on a quality that people expect, because as you continue to grow in this band, as you continue to grow with music, with SoulKiller, of course the sound's going to evolve, but being able to stay consistent within the quality of that and the quality of your live performance is going to have people coming back again and again and again and again, and you're going to get people like me who want to see you guys like 4 or 5 times in a given year.
Yeah, I think with us, we really tried to find a happy medium to where we didn't stretch ourselves thin. And yes, at times I think we did. And we got through those moments, and it was stressful as hell. But we went, hey, let's release a song so we can get out there. And then after that, we're like, all right, let's play shows. Okay, we can't neglect releasing more music, so why don't we go back to that? And I feel like we're all kind of from a generation like prior to this generation, and thankfully we have Zach, which is kind of more bringing us into the current. We're all a bunch of guys that are used to just like releasing albums. I come from Sumerian Records, where I record my music video, I record the music, and then they do the rest. And since we're DIY, it's like we got to do everything. So it's been cool to have Zach and all the other guys in part of this, because like when I'm like, hey, I think we might need to take a step down, he's like, no, we need to push more. And then we like find that happy medium, it's where we can just keep gliding through.
Yeah, I think it's been really interesting to work with Shawn, knowing how the industry was back then. Like you posted today that the last album that you released was 2014. And that kind of really put a lot into perspective for me, because we're not selling physical albums. We're strictly focusing on the internet and like finding new ways to get the eyes on us without Warped Tour and without Mayhem Fest and without physical CDs in Best Buy. Like it's really cool to see Shawn kind of open up to that, because I know especially when we first started, he was like, I'm not doing it. You want me to make 15 seconds funny videos? It's not happening.
Well, but that's just the game. Hey, he's not wrong, but that's the game we have to play now. You have to make those videos, and it sucks just because you have to take time away to make something that you might not necessarily be fully into, and that essentially at times drains your artistic energy. I talked to Lauren Babick from Red Handed Denial about this, and she talked about the same thing, where there's different things where it's like, okay, you have to hop on these TikTok trends and do these videos that are going to be popular, but you don't want to do them because it's just picking up on the same exact thing over and over again. And it's like this. It's like with music. If you're going to be making your music and you're chasing the trends of what are popular, you're always going to be behind. And at that point in time, you're never going to reach the actual full potential of what you could do. So you have to find a way to make those like videos your own. You have to find a way to make them yourself. But at the same time, that's just another piece of the puzzle of artistic integrity, artistic creative energy that you have to put in there that you're not going to be able to put into your music at that time or the live show at that time. So you kind of can feel like that way has to be spread thin. But at times, now, Shawn, you might be able to attest to this too. Now, there were things that you were doing back, 2014 when you released your last album that you had to do at that point in time, that because the age of the internet right now, the way music is being delivered, the way music is being consumed, you don't have to do anymore just based on a changing landscape. So that energy doesn't have to be there anymore. But of course, you have to put more into social media, different things in a live show, different things into the music, everything around there.
Yeah. Dude, honestly, you make a great point. And I never really thought about it like that, but you really made me think about, when Life Reaper was released, I was 2014 on Warped Tour, bro. So like, I had to wake up every day and promote my album to people that I didn't know, and I don't have to do that. I can actually go on the internet and do videos and stuff now, and I don't have to be in the blazing sun talking to people that don't want to talk to me. You know what I mean? So like, you know what? Now that I think about it, it kind of works out pretty much better.
Dude, it's chill. I know that we like to just, most of the guys in the band like to just spend time on our own and just do things in our room, and you know, it's a lot easier to be in air conditioning and not have to deal with the sun.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree with you on that, because if I had to go out and, promote this podcast, like, hey, listen to this by going out in the blazing sun, handing out little like cards or whatnot just for people to try and look into it, especially because then they have to look into it and try and find or like type in that URL into their phones, or like, okay, you have to go to this app, you have to look at this. I used to have a little sticker on the back of my phone with a QR code on it. So whenever I would tell people and they're like, oh, where can I find your stuff? I said, pull out your phone, and I would just have them scan it. And they would go and they'd go to a link tree with all the links to everywhere you could find it. And I'm like, pick your favorite. Because then it's all there. You click on it and you're automatically to where it's like, if you listen to it on Spotify, it'll take you right there. Listen to Apple Podcasts, it'll take you right there. Listen to YouTube, take it right there. But then the amount that for me promoting it, I'm like, I'm doing much better promoting it online because it's an online thing. So not necessarily doing that. But that's another piece of the puzzle that you guys could implement too, is just like, if you're talking people music, it's like, okay, where do I find it? Just have a QR code in the back of your phone. They can scan it and
I just looked at my phone because I was like, I'm gonna do that now.
I think you also made a great point too. Like, with me coming from like an older era of the metalcore realm or whatever, I've always stood firm on longevity of bands. Back when Either Breather was still doing things, we were never really that band that like followed trends or anything, and we always tried to steer away from being like in that circle of these types of bands. And nowadays with social media, I also feel like we try and do that as well, to where like, all right, we know we got to do this TikTok stuff. We got to do content. And you were talking about Virtue earlier, and their vocalist came up to me when we saw them, I think with
Color Morale. I think it was Color Morale.
Morale. And he was like, one of the things I love about you guys is that like your social media presence is authentic. It's not forced. And like, I'm glad that resonates, because I don't want to be a band that's jumping on trends and stuff like that. Granted, we might throw some stuff here and there, but like overall, like if you want to do something, you have to be willing to risk to be different and do that thing that like, that's the next thing people follow. Because if you're not the trendsetter, you're just following everything everybody else is doing, and you're never going to be the one that breaks through. You got to be creative and not just your music, but your ability to get past that thick shell of all those millions of bands that are trying to do the same thing,
I'm actually coming to really enjoy it, We spent Sunday filming a bunch of stuff, to work on promoting the EP. And towards the end of it, I was like, guys, that was kind of fun. Like, it didn't feel as taxing as we thought it was gonna. We were just hanging out, but with a camera. Like, it felt like really cool to do. And, it definitely doesn't feel forced. And I think that's what we were all afraid of committing to, is feeling forced and losing what we consider as like a really unique thing that we have.
Well, again, it kind of goes back to what I was talking about with like artistic energy and your artistic integrity, because if you were just following the trends on TikTok, if you're just following the trends on Instagram or YouTube, whatever it is, all that's happening is you're just regurgitating the same thing over and over again, and you're not enjoying it. You're not making it fun. You're not making it your own. But Shawn, you make a great point too. It's the bands that are willing to step out of the box and be authentic. Those are the ones that end up standing out and are able to break through the millions and millions of other artists and bands that are out there in order to actually stand out and get noticed and have people get into them. And that's been something that has been consistent over the course of time, even since the beginning of like really, I would say the music boom back in the 1950s. Elvis was completely different and broke out through that 1960s, hippie music, the Beatles, the British Invasion with Rolling Stones. You go to the 70s. I had him. Kiss is the perfect example of a band that just took a chance on something, went full on balls to the wall with it, and became one of the biggest bands ever.
Yeah, and aesthetically for us, Kiss is a huge kind of influence. I don't even know if it might be something that's super apparent to all of us, but if you look at Kiss and you look at us, like you can find similarities. There's, obviously we dress up and we put on a persona when we're on stage, and then we come off stage and we're immediately just back to us. It's really cool to have created characters that almost makes it feel like we're working at a haunted house like every single time we play a show.
Yeah. I'm just naturally I think I'm a very just soft-spoken person, so when people see me jump on stage, they're like, the fuck?
Yeah. But
So
and
it's pretty cool.
being like that, kind of fits that mold of those bands that were really outspoken and shined during their eras, like you were mentioning. Having such a different personality off stage and on stage, but it being cool to hang with you off stage, I think really also is helping put even other bands in our scene, like hanging out with other bands. I'm like, oh, this is sick. Like when you come off stage and you hang out for a little bit, I think that really makes a difference.
Especially when you're trying to continue to grow and you're trying to get your name out there. It is a huge difference because I think about it from the shows that you've played. Of course, the ones that I've seen you play, you weren't the headliner. So people are wanting to go back to the merch table, maybe talk to the headliner, but maybe that table has got a lot of people around there. Maybe it's just something that they don't want to end up having to talk to, or maybe they're going to wait. So what do? Do we wait in line? Well, we're going to go to these other tables and just talk to the bands that we just saw because we have a chance to talk to them. Or maybe something stood out from their set, from your set, that makes me want to go say, hey, I want to go talk to them to see what's going on. Because when I saw you guys play with opening for Woe Is Me, it was the look of you guys on stage that had me initially like, okay, I can see something that's interesting here. This is different. And then the sound is what brought me in. Then seeing you guys go back, especially for that Of Virtue show, right when I walked in and I saw the look, it was instantaneous. I'm like, oh, wait, I've seen this band before. I know who these guys are. It happened almost instantly. I'll even go back to the Chicago show with Woe Is Me, the band that went on right after you, Not Enough Space, with their two female vocalists. That was something that even stood out to me and my buddy too. We're like, holy shit. Yeah. But it's something that, you see that, and it's not a gimmick. It's just something that enhances the performance. But also from our standpoint as fans, we can easily see that. We can connect the pieces of that to the band name initially. And that's something that can help us remember you guys, but continue to explore what the sound is going to be and what you guys are going to continue to create going forward. It's that connection piece in the brains of fans. And if you can even do that too while you're at the merch table, even just as you're playing normal selves, not necessarily playing normal selves, but just normal looking selves, even better.
Yeah.
My bad. When we initially started, like dressing up and doing some of that stuff wasn't even, I don't think we even really talked about it that much.
Nope.
But as time went on, I think SoulKiller kind of it created a persona, a character. And I think each member took that character and kind of visualized what they saw in that character and created that into their, on stage look. We have Phil and Zach with the masks, and that all, I don't know if you've seen the music video for Devil, but all this stuff is intertwined. It's not just like, oh, these guys go up and they dress up. Like, no, like we are portraying this story, and originally I remember talking to the guys like, why don't we do something where we're like a band from the future and we're just coming here to fucking lay waste to earth, like, and then we were like, well, if we do that, then like we got to be like a mysterious group of people where like our offstage vibe is going to stay. And like, just like, no, like, let's just do what we feel like SoulKiller is individually. And then once we walk off stage, like that whole persona has been left on stage,
Yeah, I would say the band definitely not lives and dies on the stage, but it definitely lives on the stage. If you see us walk up or you see us walking around right before we play and we're kind of like not talking, it's we really set in a different mindset. I know each one of us like kind of need our space before we play, to get ready and like have our own like little meditation, whatever it may be. But yeah, we definitely become something else on stage.
Could you say maybe not enough space?
Oh, that's a great little drop right in there. Just like, oh, he said it. He said a name of a band that we also talked about just a minute ago. Oh my God. I need
We love
flashing
that
lights.
band.
Yeah.
After playing with them, we all hung out for a long time and we got pretty close. So we're definitely excited for them. Shouts out to Thriller. It's very cool.
Yeah, they just signed with Thriller, and right when I got the announcement they signed with Thriller, I'm like, I reached out to the person that does all their PR. I'm like, let's make this happen. Like,
yeah,
I need this. I need to bring them on too. And at the moment, we're still working on it because I know they're out on the road for a couple of dates right now. So I'm just waiting for them to get off, give me some available times, and then bing, bang, boom, we're bringing down enough space right on here.
Hell yeah.
Hey, and I'm sure they'll never forget this moment for the rest of their lives, but we definitely introduced them to Malort.
Oh, no.
Yep, everyone in the band that drinks took a shot of Malort with us and followed it up with a PBR.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah. I mean, I've had that tradition happen to me one time, the good old Malort shot, and I'm like, now I'm trying to get everybody as I possibly can to do because I think it's funny, but it's like, yeah, you want one? No.
Most of the guys in the band actually enjoy it. Me and Phil are big connoisseurs. I think at this point we've probably tried every single flavor of Malort. And yeah, it's definitely it's definitely an acquired taste. If you don't like it, you don't like it. If you like it, you like it.
Zach,
I'll
say I won't join
you. You off.
Oh, I say I wasn't going to join the Malort shop, but if you guys are doing PBRs, I'll be in on that.
Always. That's my favorite. If I'm having a beer at a show, PBR.
There is one flavor of Malort that the band refuses to touch. And I brought it up because I'm going to fucking say it. They forced Dave and I to do the one chip challenge and then made us take a shot of Malort in the middle of it. And they fucked us up so bad, it had Dave and I thinking of the worst possible thing we could do to them. So I was like, you know what? Why don't we soak a pickled herring in some Malort and then have them fucking eat a pickled herring? And they said, no.
No. You know, we didn't force them, but the Malort was definitely, I will say we forced the Malort.
So the next match you guys play live, do I have to bring a pickled herring being marinated in Malort for you guys?
Bro, please don't. Please
do. Please do.
Don't give me ideas. I'll do it. I mean, I brought in some non-alcoholic Topo Chico, like 12 packs of it for Damon during the a Virtue show. I brought it in during the venue, like after the words, that venue was looking at me like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "It's a gift," and I was like, "Here, sir." So if they see me coming with a jar of pickled herrings and Malort, they'll probably look at me and think like, I don't know why, but as long as it doesn't get opened in this venue, we'll be fine. That thing's gonna stink.
Dude, they've been trying to come up with different ideas for like a revenge, and they're kind of brutal.
I mean, you fucking ruined us. Like,
I know.
It's not even the fact of doing a one chip, but you add a hot shot of Malort on top of it. Can you imagine? Like, so I'm a technician at work, right? I have to drive all day, go to different job sites, make sure stuff's being installed. The next day, I'm back at work after this shit. My guts, my being was not. Yeah, it wasn't good, man.
Dude, it made a good video. It made a really good video. If you haven't seen it, go check out the One Chip Challenge. The whole thing's on our Instagram.
See, the problem with that is when they're going to do that revenge thing, it's got to be on video. It's going to be recorded, and I want to see some absolute agony coming from Zach at that point in time.
Me too. Me fucking too, dude.
It's going to be rough, man.
Well, Shawn, I'll be thinking about something potentially, and I'll just send it to you if I think of something that's really, really good.
We got to keep it like PG-18 or PG-17 because technically 18B rated R. But they're babies. They're fucking babies, dude.
Wait.
They did us dirty, and now they're running from the repercussions.
It's just gotta be worth it. It's gotta make some good content, you know?
A pickled herring soaked in Malort. People seeing that on TikTok. Come on, that's gonna become the newest trend in Chicago bars everywhere.
Yeah, I think I'm scared I would throw up. Like they almost did. It was real close. but I think I would just immediately, and you know how it is. Then your views go down.
Oh, well, no, right before we'll just put like we're experiencing technical difficulties, like cutaways that The Simpsons would used to do.
Okay, you know what? Fair.
And then like just some like, you know, like big band swing music at like in there just to mess with everything. Like da 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 da.
Yeah. We'll figure it out.
Well,
Something's gonna come up and it's gonna be like, oh, that's the one. Like,
oh yeah.
yeah.
Well, jump into something completely different. One thing I'm curious is, so Shawn, with your background in music, with you working with iBreather, Sumerian Records, joining in almost a year and a half ago with these guys, how did this whole entire thing come together, and how did you get linked up with all these guys to form SoulKiller?
Fate.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer of like everything happens for a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Phil, our bass player, he does all of our music videos, and when Breather came back very briefly in like 2021, 22, I shot 2 music videos, and I did them with Phil because he's from Chicago. I just moved to the Midwest. And then he ended up coming on our 10-year These Are My Sins tour for a couple days, and we had a great time. You know, it's like cool. Like, not only like did he do a great job with the videos, he's a really cool down to earth person. And then after that run, I just kind of like I just got reminded of like why I kind of walked away from it, and like all the stress, all the business aspects of everything. I was just like, you know what, maybe this isn't meant to be. So I took a step away, and I was like, maybe music just isn't, you know, the therapy I need. Um, and then out of nowhere, it was because of my current girlfriend. When we first just met, she didn't have, she knew me for me, had no idea I did music before, I toured and stuff, and I was like, you know, we had a conversation. I was like, you know, I had retired from music, so my life is kind of like opposite of a lot of people. You know, I didn't go to college, I did music and stuff like that. And she's like, why? Like, why'd you stop? And I was like, why did I stop? You know? And it really started to make the gears turn in my head towards like maybe it's music that I need in my life, but maybe what I was doing and trying to revive the either breather and then keep doing that is not the direction I should go in. And randomly one day I made like a post on Facebook. I was like, is there anybody in the Midwest that like wants to make music? And Phil within like 5 minutes was like, yo, my band is you know, looking to possibly do this. And it's funny because like what, 6 months prior, they actually paid me to do a feature, and like I never got the song, like nothing ever happened of it. So I was like, you know what, Phil, you know what? Like, you guys paid me this money. If you want to do this, send me your shit. I'll get some ideas down, right? And then I think the first song I sent everybody was Devil. And then we did a couple more. And I was like, I'm just gonna take that money y'all gave me for the feature, and I'm just gonna go into the studio and record all the vocals for the EP. And that's just like how it went down. It was like they already had the group. Um, they were just kind of like waiting for the right opportunity, I guess.
Yeah.
Or you know, and I met with them one night just to make sure, like, yeah, that's cool. Like, we created some good music together, but I think I'm at the age now where like music and friendship and family and love for each other, they go 50-50. Like, if we create amazing music and like that's 80%, and then the other 20% is me being miserable, like I don't want to do that. And I hung out with the guys, and I fell in love, you know, it's love at first sight. You like, you just know, like, you know, that connection is real when you meet somebody. It's just kind of like a girlfriend. You're like, I could see something with this, you know? And we've been by the hip ever since.
Yeah, that first day was so interesting. To go further, like me, Phil, and Dave, had been trying to get something together. Um, and finding a singer for a band is hard, man. Like Dave could have done it, but at the time he was super into balance still, and he was really taking that seriously and didn't have the time to be a front man. But finding a singer sucked. It took so long, man. I don't get it. There's so many singers, none of them want to be in bands. But yeah, and we went through a couple. And as soon as Shawn sent us that first track, it was like, dude, not only do I get to work with someone that I was inspired to do music by when I was in high school, but it's sick and it's not what he was doing before. And it was so different hearing it with him, and then Dave, like the way that they work together lyrically and their voices together. It's so fun. We definitely got super lucky, and then finding Aaron out of the blue shortly after we launched the band was awesome. I mean, we've all kind of known each other through the scene, minus Shawn. He didn't grow up in Chicago with us, but we've all known of each other. We've all played together, and it just kind of made sense. We're all older. We all understand the music business. We've all like fine-tuned our craft, and we all have a place in the band. Phil does video. Dave is an amazing producer and singer. Shawn is an amazing almost band manager. And like he has done it for so long, it just makes sense. Aaron's got an extensive touring background. He was in For All I Am, and he's always been an amazing drummer. I'll never forget the first time I saw For All I Am play, and I was just looking at him like, bro, this guy's crazy. And it just all makes sense for all of us. It's so much easier to do everything ourselves without having to shell out a ton of money to get music videos made, or pay to have someone reach out to a company that we need help from. Like it's good that we all have taken time to learn and grow, because now we can apply all of these things. Yeah.
And you guys are applying that too. And the only thing that you guys really had to pay for was to discover Shawn that he actually wanted to be in the band after sending those demos in. So good thing you guys paid him for that feature early on, that it ended up leading to this. So saying that it was fate definitely is a great word to put it. And Shawn, I do want to give a shout out to your girl as well for asking you, like, why did you stop? Just like challenging you on like, okay, actually think about the reason why you did it, because usually when it comes to random things and like random things are going in my head, I'll bring up to my girl and she'll just say the same thing. Like, okay, she'll challenge me on all these different things to get me to actually maybe see why or see it in a different light. And we need people like that in our lives, because they help push us further into what we're not necessarily what we're meant to do, but what we really find joy in and what we should be doing because we love it. Or if it's like, it brings us positivity and allows us to positively impact everybody around us.
The women of SoulKiller definitely hold us down.
Dude, yeah. Honestly, our girlfriends are the other portion of SoulKiller that nobody really ever gets to see.
Yeah, they come up with ideas for the band. Like Brooke Phil's
designed
wife.
the set.
Literally, like, dude, they all have done so much. Like it's cool, even if it's the little things, like just hanging out with us at practice. Without them, I don't think any of us would still be able to put up with each other.
And when we get upset with each other, they bring us back in.
Yep, literally
being irrational.
Yep. It's like sometimes I'll show my girl like, oh, what? Am I being wrong? And she's like, yeah, dude, shut up. And I'm like, okay.
We love each other though, all of us.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If it wasn't for peaks and valleys, there would be no dynamic and it wouldn't be as fun. I think it's also good to have our moments of doubt and our moments of like downward spirals internally, because we then come together and we talk, and it's like, okay, this is what happened, this is how I felt, and then we go around and we all get to speak, and it's nice that we can communicate internally and not have to worry about going to bed upset or waking up dreading going to the studio or whatever it may be.
Yeah. We're also, honestly, dude, like, if you think about it, we're 5 dudes that battle mental illness,
Mhm.
like all of us. And for us to all be able to, like, not just be a band, but we're a fucking family. Like, if we have any issues, like, we just sit down and we talk and we get each other through those moments in life. And like, that aspect of being in this band, for me at least, is like, screw the music, like that part of the family that we have, like, you don't see that in the industry, man. You just don't. It's
Not
cutthroat.
anymore.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It's great. I love it. I love it. I don't have a lot of friends, but I have my band, and that's all I need.
And you get the family dynamic behind it too. And not only does the family dynamic work with just you guys, the band, but the people that are closely connected to you. Because when you're saying the women of SoulKiller are very vital to the band, it, especially in a live setting, it does not go unnoticed. Because both times I saw you guys, I saw people come up during your set. I'm like, okay, they seem really, really into this. Like, they know everything that's going on. I don't know who these people are, but then all of a sudden after the show, I see them behind the merch table. It's like, oh, okay, so they're definitely connected with the band somehow, but they're actively there. You see them. I even saw kids out there just jamming out during the Milwaukee set, and I'm just like, okay, this is cool as all hell. It's like, I don't even know who these kids are, but, and then I see behind the merch, I'm like, okay, it's somebody's kids, but hey, they're here, and they're seeing not only the positivity that music is bringing, you guys, bringing everybody in the family, but also seeing the positive impact that your music is bringing to people that are going out to see you guys play live. They're actively seeing it, and they're actively potentially being inspired by that in terms of what they could do going into the future, what they might aspire to be. Might not be in music, but we might want to find something that's going to positively impact other people in the same way you guys are doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Inspiration. Whoa.
You're good, dude. You take the ride here.
Yeah, take the ride.
I was just gonna say that like inspiration is a big thing. Like I mentioned, Shawn inspired me when I was in high school with I the Breather, and I want us to inspire like kids in high school now or kids in high school later. I want them to realize that music is actually like a fairly simple thing to grasp, and once you really grasp it and start working on it, you just get so good that the sky's the limit. We don't I don't know if I should talk about, I can talk about it. So like we don't actually record anything except for vocals. Everything else that's on the EP is all MIDI instruments. And I wanted to do it that way to prove that you don't need expensive instruments, you don't need a full drum set, you just need some patience. You'll need a computer, but that's it, and you can roll with it and create and have so much fun with whatever noises you're making. I always tell new people, like new artists, I'm like, hey, like it doesn't matter, like as long as it sounds good to you and someone else likes it, you're doing it, so just keep doing it. So it's cool to see that you understand inspiration and you're seeing it in the scene, and it's nice to know that like if you're noticing it, other people are noticing it. And I hope that we get a whole new wave of musicians, because the Chicago scene has always been awesome, and I don't want it to go away.
Yeah. I think you bring up a great point too, because I've sat in the studio for hours on end waiting for, this is a perfect guitar stroke, or this is what this is. And with our style of music, I feel like we're able to continuously add to that electronic dynamic by doing it via MIDI, because we can construct that guitar sound to the way we want, or the bass sound, or whatever Dave decides to do electronically. Sonically sound, we are basically an EDM metal band, so like
Yeah, that's
going into the studio and being like, I have to record these drums, and I have to record this bass, and I have to record. It's like, guys, we're basically a glorified EDM metal band. Like,
yep.
we don't have to go in there, have like the perfect sweeps in guitar. Like, we have one job, and it's to make a groovy fucking song that people can resonate to and just enjoy it. And not who gives a fuck how it was produced, you know? It sounds good.
It sounds good. It sounds good. I mean, you guys are making the new thing, ED Metalcore. I'm not even going to say EDM, just ED Metalcore. You just got to have that connected together. But at the same time, okay, Zach, I see you're having like this moment of
I'm
like,
putting that in my bio immediately.
do it. Absolutely do it. But going beyond that too, recording your stuff and recording it with, with MIDI, it kind of also fits into the idea of like a band from the future, right?
Yeah.
It fits into
literally.
that. It fits into that. And of course, even when you first brought up, I'm like, wait a minute, how is this going to work? But then as you're explaining, I'm thinking, again, band from the future, it all sort of connects, especially if, you have the EDM background there too, especially having Dave doing all the electronic stuff. It adds to the amplification of it. And then the main key, especially when it comes to younger people making music, is you can work in that space. You can figure out what's going to sound best for you. You're going to figure out that craft. And after you figure that out, then the next step is, okay, now we can actually start to learn how to play this. Now we can build from there. So when you go to the live setting, yeah, maybe you didn't record it that way, but if you're going to be able to play it live, that's what we can't, like, that's what it really matters. Like when you're playing it live, as long as you can smash it, you can absolutely kill on it, boom. Then you get people looking, you're like, oh my God. Okay, they're going to go from 300 cap venue to 700 to 1,000 to 1,500 to ballrooms. So all of a sudden, you guys are going to be like playing at the Salt Shed in Chicago and having a blast with it.
Oh man, I wish. Yeah, honestly, it's also pushed me to be a better guitar player. I've always just been a rhythm guy. I don't play a lot of leads. But working on our full length, I've really been pushing myself and writing things that I don't think I can necessarily play, and then I'm going through and I'm learning it. I'm like, oh, sick! Yeah, I'm getting better. This feels good. I thought 30 everything was going to go down, but I've only been getting better, so it's good.
That's true.
Let's say if you're saying you thought 30 everything was going to go down, but it's only getting better. Okay, then you're giving me some, something to look forward to, because I'm so close to that mark. Actually, I'm like, I'm almost there. So we'll see what happens.
It's
I'm not going to give my age, but
I call him Papa.
I'm my mid-30s and I'm still out here fucking living the best fucking fun times of my life.
Screaming his head off and shaking his whole body on stage like I've never seen anyone do.
That's what matters. Just as long as, Zach can go up to him and just go, Papa, can you hear me?
Yeah, basically.
Just really make him laugh at some point in time. But also, I would be very disappointed myself if I didn't bring this up once again. The fact that there is a brand new EP called Breathless, which again comes out on November 1st. So by the time you're hearing this, it's going to be out. So why don't we actually talk about that for a little bit? Because I feel like that's a great thing to go into. So when it comes to the songs in this EP, what really drove a lot of these songs, not only from maybe a lyrical standpoint, but really from that instrumental and creation standpoint as well?
I'll jump off.
To start with like the instrumental process, it definitely stemmed from just me and Dave sending a lot of music back and forth. Dave was an A&R for Fixed for a long time. And he would, be like, oh, check out one of our artists. I think you'd really like it. And immediately ideas just started flowing. And him already doing a sort of like a dubstep metalcore solo project and listening to that and really coming to enjoy it. I was just like, bro, we should just make this a band and use this to create a new sound. If it wasn't for Dave really just bombarding me with music for weeks and weeks, I don't think it would have been as interesting of a sound to create. I can write a basic metalcore song in my sleep, but this extra step of having Dave really dive in and rip the songs apart really separated it and made us feel more confident in creating the music for the EP to create a structure for the band. This is like our first release. We wanted to make sure that we come out with something that is each song shows almost not a different side, but it gives you a different element to be like, okay, if that's something they do going forward, I'm going to like that. And then, then we give it to Shawn and he does stuff. He's usually working on demos before the songs are even done. So he'll like send us like a demo, and then a month goes by and we're like, okay, we think we're done with the song. And he's like, yeah, so am I. And we're like, wait, what do you mean?
and then I fit everything in there. But yeah, so generally, lately I've been doing better about letting them get the song done before I'm like diving in, because I, I'm always like, if I hear a song and it resonates immediately, I got to get those ideas down, whether I'm listening to the song, the first demos they send me, and I get a chorus idea, and I'm like, guys, here, check this out, check this out. So lately I've been kind of like sitting in the back and letting them do the thing for the full length. I do have majority of the songs written already, but still, but, um, you know, with the album lyrically, I really had to. I'm one of those singers that can't just write music, just have words on the screen and sing them. Like, it has to be impactful to me. It may be um very simple lyrics, but the words that come out, to me, they have to have emotion and they have to have a feeling to them, whether it's the grain in my voice and the fucking, you can tell how pissed off I am, and it might be fucking 3 words, but for a fucking fact when you hear them 3 words that I mean that shit. So I feel like I took my knowledge in the music industry, because Sumerian for the longest time was like, trim the fat, too many words, too many words. And it put me in a mindset of like, okay, if I'm going to say these words, I got to pick which ones we're going to stick with, and they really have to hit, whether it's the rhythm or the notes, whatever, it's got to hit. And then after that, it's like, we got to make sure these lyrics are what are going to captivate you.
Mhm.
And I want you to feel what I'm feeling right now. Uh, there's many songs on this album where I feel like I've gone a little bit more vulnerable than I normally would, and said things that I normally wouldn't say, because I was confined in a very small shell with either
Mhm.
breather. You can't say this, you can't act like this, you can't do this. And now I'm just like, you know what? Like, I'm done holding back. Like, I suffer from pretty severe mental illness. I can go into a deep depression and I'll be fine with not talking to people for a month, and then I have my band that brings you back,
Mhm.
but lyrically, I want people to feel that, the title track Breathless, that was my fucking 3 year, 4 year battle with doctors. And I'm so sick and tired of going to these fucking doctors that are putting me on this SSRI and this SSRI and
Mhm.
this SSRI. And it's like, well, you got to take it for a month to see if it's going to work. And I'm like, a month later, I'm like, I'm more depressed than I was before.
Mhm.
I really don't want to fucking be here. They're like, okay, let's try this one. I'm more depressed than I was before. I don't want to do this again. Okay, we think this one's going to help. I'm more depressed than I was before. It's just like, that song captivates my battle with like doctors and my chemical imbalance and like just wanting happiness,
Mhm.
and then even Swarm, it might not be one of my favorite songs in the album, but like the again, like it might be a simple word, but like it's the revolving door in my head. It's like, here we are again, and like it might be a simple word, but it sticks. It has a meaning, and like just the entire EP lyrically, title track, it's kind of like either breather. I'm breathless, bro. Like, it's like I'm going from one chapter to the chapter
Mhm.
that I'm in now, and I'm talking about the story about the past 10 years and 5, 6 fucking songs, and I think we did a good job.
Yeah. The features on the EP are amazing too.
Yes. Yes.
So, who are all the features on the EP before we dive a little bit deeper into this? Because I'm just
Uh,
curious on this. I want to make sure everyone gets to know about this first.
so on Breathless, it features Danny Leal from Upon a Burning Body, which is kind of like an homage to Shawn being on Sumerian and working
Mhm.
with Upon for years. It was nice to have him on such a delicate track for us, because it really it was the glue for that song. Having him close it out is so good. Um, and then we have Dylan from Dead Awake on Blacklist. And then we have
Who
Hunter.
I met Dylan because of the I the Breather reunion.
Oh yeah. Yep. And
His
then
band opened up that show.
Okay.
and then we got Hunter Black, one of our good buddies. Does a lot of TikTok stuff, but he's on Devil. He was in the music video as well. So it's been really nice to have a couple people that are actually in our scene, so that when we play shows, we can have them come out whenever they can and have fun. You know, we want everyone to be involved. Like if you come to our show and you know the words, like be in my face. I want you to yell at me.
Yeah.
Like, because if they're coming on stage to do it, you could do it from down there. I'm not stopping you.
Yeah, dude, and honestly, having Danny Leal on there, um, you know, a lot of people don't understand the relationships that bands create when they tour, and with them being a Sumerian band, um, we got signed in 2009, started touring in 2010, and then I think 2011 is when we met them, and I think we did like 4 tours with them. And the funny thing is, back then they were all about family. And it really kind of instilled that family idea.
Mhm.
So to kind of come like full circle to where we're very family oriented, we are fucking brothers, and I see them and they're the same fucking way. It just made sense. It's like, bro, we've never done a track before. Let's do it now.
Yeah. Well, even just looking at what you guys are saying and listening through it, when it comes to the EP specifically, there's a couple of things that stand out. One, from the instrumental aspect, always having a way to try something like, okay, let's see if I can push myself to do this, especially writing it on MIDI and creating it there. Let's see if I can push myself to this, and then seeing that you can do that. Again, it just opens up the possibilities of what you can do even further in the future. And then as you guys have been going through this process where, like Zach, you and Dave working on these songs, and then Shawn already having them finished too at the same time, you're seeing where these different ideas come in for these songs, where they're being contrived from, and it's creating this idea of, okay, maybe you have a different idea here, maybe you have a different idea here, but maybe these ideas can end up meshing together and create something that not only sounds even more powerful than what it is, but connects so much more to what we're actually trying to present in this song, what we're trying to speak of, because especially from your vocal, Shawn, if you want to make sure that every word means something and every word stands out as the most powerful thing, maybe there's something that these guys are working on too, that after it comes together, it's like, okay, this piece amplifies this part of the vocal set so much more so that if it's not in there, then that authenticity doesn't hit nearly as hard. And in today's day and age, we hear so much about, like random production and music that ends up glossing over everything. We hear about the fears of AI taking over and just completely ruining a bunch of different music because now that's out of there. But it doesn't have the authenticity that artists bring to the table. And if you don't have that in there, fans are able to pick up on it, and then you really start to get away from it. And once fans find out that it's not genuine, they back out tremendously. I mean, go back to in like 1989, Milli Vanilli with Girl You Know It's True, and the Girl You Know It's Girl You Know. It's like once they found out that it wasn't them, boom, that was it, like gonzo. But going even further into the lyrics, Shawn, I love what you said about it doesn't feel like you have to be in a certain box anymore. It doesn't feel like you have to talk about certain things or only say certain things or have to act certain way or only present things or present certain ideas. Because as an artist, if you're forced to stick within these certain constraints, sometimes it's a good exercise because then you get to see where you can push those constraints and see how far you can go within a certain bound. But if you're always staying within this certain box, you can't break out, and then you end up not being able to talk about things that are necessarily as impactful, or you don't bring that authenticity to the table nearly as much. So you're talking about mental illness, or you're talking about, trying these different medications and your struggle with doctors. I'm listening to, I'm just like, my God, I can relate to that because I was going through something like that too back in like 2017, 2018. I couldn't sleep. My doctor was like, here's an antidepressant to fix it. I'm like, but I can't fall asleep. Like, that's not the problem here. He's like, just try it. Just trust me. Tried it once. My body fought it and I didn't fall asleep that night. I'm like, okay, let's get rid of these. I'm going to figure this out in a completely different way because I'm not going to have drugs just forced down me to try and fix something that might not need drugs to fix. And, well, I can sleep now. So, ha, 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 ha. or feel like, you have to, like, talking about, you have to act a certain way, or you have to be a certain person. I remember being pushed that way so many times when I was in like middle school and high school, especially going to a Catholic middle school and a Catholic high school. Not necessarily the best thing when you're just kind of like, I don't really understand where this is going. And then people just like, you have to believe this or you don't. I'm like, okay, now I'm going to start pushing away because that's not really what I'm going for, and expanding my knowledge even further. I'm like, okay, I see what I actually like. I see where I actually am as a person, and it wasn't in this certain box that you thought I fit in. Or I can even go to my full-time job now as well. I'll show up, even though it's a remote job. I'll show up and it's like, okay, I get on calls with people I know. I've got my hat on. I've got usually like a Rise Against or a We Came as Romans shirt on. People always give me crap for it, but they always remember me. And it's like, because I'm not the same person over and over again. My team that I work with absolutely loves me because I'm not like anybody else. I'm just me. I'm not going to fall in this certain corporate box that everyone wants to put me in. And I'm doing just fine. So yeah, being more authentic, especially with who you are, not only in your music, but inspiring people to embrace that authenticity within themselves and be able to expand further on it, is something that not only is going to continue to drive you to create more music and create music that's going to become even more authentic, but in your own struggles as well, seeing people connect to music and seeing people build from your music, it gives it even more of this battle cry, or gives more of this inspirational moment where you can listen to your songs back and think, hey, I got through this and I helped other people get through this. Now I'm relating to this in a different way for something that I need to get through. I got the inspiration. I got the examples. I got the people behind me. I got this.
Yeah, man. It's it's a good segue right here because, I was talking about like my mental health, and it's crazy you brought up like the Catholic Church, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm about to fucking step on some toes right here.
Oh boy.
I've never really been too public about my faith because of how brutal these people are when you stray away from the line the slightest bit. And I've always tried my absolute best to just be a good person, right? And there had been so many times when I was in Either Breather that I always tried my best to be a great person and do great by people. And I always looked around and saw people that were so in this circle that were just horrible people, I remember in Minnesota once we played the biggest festival I've ever played. At that time, it was called Sunshine Festival. And we got there the night before because our friends in August Burns Red were headlining that night, and it was a great time. And the next day, we had been touring for the previous year a few times. The band called the Color Morale. They're from Chicago as well. And naturally, I'm gonna go say what's up to those guys. So I meet up with Justin. At that point in time, he played bass for them, and we're backstage behind where anybody can see us. We're walking to catering for lunch. I remember this like it's yesterday. We're at a Christian festival, right? He's smoking a cigarette backstage, and this lady comes up to him and fucking spits on him and says, "How fucking dare you smoke a cigarette here?" And that's when I was like, I'm in the wrong industry. Like, these are the people I cater to. And like the year it's one of those things where it happens and your brain just explodes and you start thinking about this memory and this memory. And like, I remember the year prior, I had the fucking flu, and I come out of my van and walk into the venue, and the guys in For Today are trying to heal some dude's broken leg. And I'm like, I'm just thinking back to these things, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I feel so fake. I feel like I've been trying to be a great person and spread a positive message. And now I'm thinking back to all these things, and it's just like, that's fake. That's fake. And I'm not saying by any means that there are people that don't follow their certain beliefs and they're good people. But I've seen too many shit. I remember playing fucking New Hampshire, and It was on Scream the Prayer tour. We get there, and the venue, the promoters for this massive festival refused to feed us. And I'm like, like all these things over time intertwine with my mental health. If you think about it, like for a second, right? I have been for so long trying to be this upstanding person and do great. I have my flaws here and there, but then everywhere I turn, Shawn's not good enough. Shawn's not this. Shawn's not that. And I look and I'm like, where are y'all? Like, what does that say for you guys? And then years go by and I realize I have so much aggression built in my body. It created mental fucking issues big time. I don't know what I believe anymore. I want to believe in a God, but my God wouldn't do these things. Or like you have people that say, well, that's not really Christianity. Well, then explain this. Explain this festival owner. Explain this person. Explain the biggest Christian band in the industry trying to heal a broken leg. Like, you get to a point where you're like, this is mentally fucking taxing. I need to walk away. I've never really been too public about that stuff. And it's because I've always feared the repercussions of saying, I don't walk in that light anymore, because I've learned that once I walked away from that light, I saw happiness. It didn't change who I was. I'm still a great person. I would still take my shirt off and give you a shirt if you didn't have a shirt, and do whatever I had to do. You're broken down on the side of the road to help you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to be a person, like, in your realm, or believe in what you believe. And I just wanted to tie that together because I feel like, with Devil, the song we have, Devil, 333 put a devil in me. And it's just like, all that hope I had of being a good person just turned me into the most depressed, miserable, person I could be. And like, I'm happy now. I'm so happy now, like, I don't have to follow a certain line and get judged because I might smoke some weed sometimes or have a beer or like just be a human, I don't mean to go on a spiel about it, but like, I've had all that kind of built up for a really fucking long time. And that's just like this much of the stuff I saw, like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's probably a lot more in there that you saw. And the reason why I'm glad you brought up, especially because for me growing up, especially in that realm of Catholic grade school, Catholic middle school, Catholic high school, seeing how all this played into each other, I do want to say this. So there are a lot of people that follow the faith like that are very Christian, that are good people, that actively actually do stuff. I have a lot of friends that are still very heavily involved in the church, and they're some of the best people I know. And we always have fun together. And it's like, they know that I'm not into that at all. But at the same time, they're like, yeah, we're not going to stop you from like coming over here, having a good time with us, stop you from inviting you to this or that, or coming to their weddings. It's like, yeah, I'm going to be there because I'm there to support all of these people. But it's what we're talking about is the people that end up using their faith, using their religion as a cover for the things that they're doing or to justify the things they're doing. I'll still never forget this either. I was a junior in high school and we had this class called Morality and Ethics. And we had like 3 classes where it was, okay, here's a topic. If you agree with it, if you are on one side of the top, you go on this side of the room. Otherwise, you go on the other side of the room and you debate it. I told myself, force yourself to always go to the other side of the room just to see what happens. And I only ever had to force myself to do it one time. And it's like, okay, I'm going to go over here. And I just would bring up questions of logic. Just, okay, what about this? And I would get vilified for it or yelled at it. And I'd have the school sister who was teaching it say, you should go with this because we say so, or because this book says so. I'm like, but that doesn't make any sense. And then I get detention for it. Right. Third time it happened, my homeroom teacher was like, I got to come and watch you do this. So he sat in the class and watched me do this. The minute I brought up a question, all of a sudden it's like, that's detention. He's like, and I'm not making you serve it, man. It's like, thank you. Thank you.
That's sick that you have a teacher that can back you and let you be yourself, and even in that situation.
But it helped out too to see like some of the stuff that Shawn that you were saying. It's when people just end up using that to front that they're a good person, but then they end up treating other people like treating other people like crap if they're not as fully into it. Like getting spit on because you're smoking a cigarette. How many people back in the 1950s or 1960s that were very heavily involved in the gospel scene at that point in time would have been smoking cigarettes with these people? But now because socially it's not the coolest thing 50 years later, you spit on the person. Tell me where spitting on a person is actually having Christian values behind it versus going out there and making a positive impact on other people's lives around you. Yep. There's definitely a clear divide there. And if you can't see that clear divide, there is something that we got to talk about.
Yeah, dude, it's funny. Well, I just want to tie this in real quick. Sorry. Okay. It's funny too, because I used to live next to a pastor, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember having a very specific conversation with him once. And it was like a duplex kind of house. So like our front doors are next to each other. And I was smoking a cigarette and he was like coming outside leaving. And I was like, look, man, I'm like kind of battling this. I have this addiction and I smoke cigarettes. And he's like, look at it this way, dude. Who's to say that if your band, ends up going somewhere someday, right? And you're in the Christian industry or smoking a cigarette, this kid sees you and he's like, someone that really needs some fucking help. And the one thing that's going to connect you to is that cigarette. And you have the ability to help that kid make a difference in his life just because you're going to have a conversation because he wants a cigarette. Like, don't look at it as this is like a very bad thing. You have to like look at it in a different light. And the light that I was looking at it was completely different than the way this pastor saw it. And it just was crazy to go 4 years after that to see that happen to somebody. And I'm just like, but the pastor told me, like if this happens, it could be an opportunity. And then my friend just got spit on. Like, what I mean? It's just wild. Yeah. And I'm not knocking religion by any means. And like, if you have your beliefs, you know, like I'm speaking to a very specific group of people and individuals that are just the way they are.
That's why I said it's like we're looking at the people that are using that as a cover for the acts that they're actually performing or the acts they're actually doing. It's like, I'm going to spit on you because you're smoking a cigarette and because that's not what we think in Christianity, I'm the one that's right. No, you just spit on somebody for no reason. Like, come on. Really?
That's insane, honestly. You just be a good person. That's what we want to be.
That's it.
That's all we want to be. That's all we want to surround ourselves with. I think the better you are to other people, the better everyone is to you, and you actually like make an impact more than if you're just a good artist or just if your podcast was just good, like if you didn't approach me, if you weren't very nice, I would have been like, okay, we could just go on this podcast, I guess. But all day today, I was like stoked. I was like, dude, is it 7:30 yet?
Messaging me.
Yeah. So like, just be a good person. Moral of the story: beliefs don't matter. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy your life. But be good.
Yeah, and the funniest thing too is that you take a lot of the faiths and the religions of the world and you boil them down to like their core principles, and it's be good to other people, be a good person.
Yep.
Come on.
But it's
that's what I always. Yeah, that's what I always. I guess I just don't. I don't know, man.
I think now, Shawn, you have a good platform to promote just being good, but also getting things off your chest. As musicians, we have to. That's how we do it. Is we play, we make the music. It's how we get it off our chest, man. Bands like Cannibal Corpse have these insane lyrics, but they're nice guys. Like, it's all about the art, and if you're creating it and you feel good doing it, it's good.
Yeah, like like Cannibal Corpse Grinder's on a stage and he's talked about this is a song about shooting blood out of your cock. Yet he's the one that's always playing claw machines and donating the prizes to like youth charities, or he's going to Target and spending thousands of dollars on Lego sets just to give them away.
Yep. Yeah. You just got to be good. And I think that's, with bands that are good people, you see it because they do well. And it's very good. And that's what we hope. We hope to be good and do well ourselves. We do this for fun, but I think there's a little part of all of us that's like, kind of want to see it go somewhere. I want to see it do the thing. I want to wake up one morning and like go, whoa, because Spotify's at 100 million plays.
I'm hoping that for 2025, you're going to open up Spotify and be like, whoa, how did that happen?
And really
it's consistent. So. And it's staying. What?
Yeah. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But
Yeah.
we all love what we're doing, and that's what matters. And if something crazy out of this world happens, it was meant to happen.
Yeah.
It was crazy, but it was meant to happen. All right, guys, I got 2 more questions before we wrap this up. First thing is, of course, the EP will be out by the time we release this episode. Beyond that as well, we're right about to hit 2025. What you got coming up for us next year?
Oh boy. Okay, so we've mentioned the full length a couple times.
Yep.
We are currently working on a full length record. We are currently working on a second full length record. We have a lot of music prepared, but we just want to make sure we do it right. We want to make sure that it sounds good to us before it hits everyone's ears. So we are kind of spending the rest of the year getting everything together for the first full length, and hopefully beginning of the year you'll start to see the next era. An evolution of the image, an evolution of the stage performance, an evolution in our sound, basically music. We don't really plan on touring. There is a chance that we might do a couple weekenders here and there. But unless the offer is otherworldly and can pay all of our bills, it's not something like that we can really do. But we're going to keep trying to play as much as we can. Definitely in the Midwest, we'll make our rounds. But yeah, 2025 is going to be a big year. First full length record is usually very pivotal for bands, So, the EP can do its thing and let it roll, but that full length is really where it's going to be.
Yeah, I think also with the EP or the full length, we're kind of stepping out of our box while keeping the same elements too. It's like, don't be afraid to do this or do that. We'll have a heavy ass song that has all singing. Why? Because we fucking want to. It's like, I want to push my vocals to that limit of like, this is a really groovy part that could have some sick screaming hooks. But what kind of melodies can I create over this? We'll have moments like that, or we'll just have fucking brutal songs that are just like, all right, guys, chill out a little bit.
We also might just have a dubstep song. There might be some other genres that we're playing with. There's a lot that could come out of this. I don't want us to be stuck into one sound. I want us to experiment, and I want to see. I want to push the kind of how we did with the EP. Like every song fits together, but they're very unique on their own. I want every song on the full length to be like that too. I don't want one sound. I want every song to have its own lane, to grow and maybe inspire people to create a whole new sound based off of that song. So it's going to be very fun, very intense, very in your face. But I also hope people think it's very pretty.
I think what Wanderers is saying right now is he has a lot of inspiration from a band called Bill Murray.
Yes, we might be on lawnmowers in the next music video.
No, we're not, dude. No.
No, it can't be on lawnmowers. It has to be some other sort of, you have to be.
It's gonna be a spacecraft.
A lawn mowing spacecraft.
Whoa, dude! Now the gears are turning.
The gears are turning, they're going, but again, the biggest thing about it is there's going to be a lot more music coming from you guys. There's going to be a much more expanded palette from that music as your inspiration continues to drive on. Beyond that, though, and when it comes to seeing you live, now, every time I see a band, I'm like, oh, you guys got to come play live. Like, I got to see you guys play live, especially I haven't seen you yet. Well, I've seen you play live twice, and I know you're around the area that I'm in, so if you guys do a couple of weekenders around the Midwest, I'm like, ooh, that's a good chance for me to be able to run into you guys and see you once again, so woohoo! Oh, yeah. But I do hope that at some point in time, that one big offer ends up coming your way so you can continue to grow on this and see if touring extensively is going to be a good thing for you guys, or if going and just making sure you're making music and finding that happiness that is within you as a band, as a family. Beyond that, though, making sure you continue to do what you love and spread that positivity. That is the main thing.
Definitely it is.
It definitely is. My last question for you guys is something I love to ask every artist I bring on the podcast. So this is something I like to ask as a way for us to get to know more new music and for you guys to get to let us in on the music that you love. So there are 2 of you, so I'm looking for collectively 3. So between the 2 of you, can you guys name me 3 bands or artists that you love that you would love to see more people get into right now?
Oh, Shawn, let's local only. Don't go. Let's keep it here. Let's give the boys some love. You go first.
From the Midwest?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you're much more well versed. I mean, there are bands that I know from here that I very much enjoy.
Yeah.
There's a front man that I particularly love from this area, and he's on Blacklist. His name's Dylan. He sings for a band called Dead Awake, and he also sings for a band called Soul Shade. Both those bands, you have your deathcore, and then you have this band, Soul Shade, that kind of just does groovy technical riffs and has melodic melodies over it, and is also very aggressive at times. That right there, I think Dylan has it. He's got it figured out, and I'm very excited to see. I've seen him bloom just from 2022, and as a human being, I just think he's a great guy. That's not to take anything away from any other bands or any musicians away from here, but Zach can also mention some as well if he wants.
So definitely Still Stare.
Yes.
I wear this hat every single day since I've gotten it. Like I love that band. Every time we play with them, or even just seeing them, like every single time it's like they keep getting better, and I don't understand. Like they are really, really perfecting their craft, and I think they are definitely a band in the Midwest to look out for. I mean, it's kind of cliche, but obviously Victims is doing great, and they're gonna continue to do great. Yeah, I think we'll count that as 3. So we'll do Dylan counts as a band, even though he's in 2. Still Stare and Victims. We'll do those 3.
And don't forget the one we mentioned earlier, Not Enough Space.
Oh, always Not Enough Space. I think now that they signed a Thriller, though, they're good. They're gonna be out on the road having a great time. I'm excited to hear more music from them too. Moancore is here to stay.
Oh yeah, I just want to sprinkle. I want to sprinkle that one in there because I'm like, I know we talked about it. You guys talked about them incredibly positively. It's like, okay, let's not let anyone forget that.
Yep.
We're all about the full circle moments,
It's a full circle of musical life.
There you go.
Well, Shawn, Zach, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to be on the podcast. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on, but I'm going to end this with 3 specific things. So first things first, this is SoulKiller. They got a brand new EP called Breathless, which is out for you right now to go check out. Beyond that, though, there's going to be more new music coming your way, and especially if you're in the Midwest, you probably can pick them up at a show or 2 at some point in the near future. If you're not in the Midwest, though, be sure to go and support them so that you can see them at a show in your area in the near future. Best thing you can do about this is this. Description of the podcast where it says find SoulKiller online. Links and labels for everything are going to be there. Social media, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, their one website where you can find them, their merch, tours, everything. I'm giving you the entirety of where you can find them and get behind the band. I am Google for you right now, okay? So go down there, go follow them, go check out their music. Be sure to stream it. Be sure to get behind the band because let's help these guys get big. Let's help them get more influence of positivity out there in the world. Now it's time for number 2. So I've seen you perform twice live already. I've already talked to you, but I've never been able to make good on a promise that I like to make every guest I bring on the podcast that I enjoy from the podcast. But now that you're here, I get to do this. So it is not an if. If implies this might not happen. This is a when. And my promise is this. I made it. You saw it. Maybe you saw it on the X-Ray Arcade show in Milwaukee that I did with Damon from A Virtue. But when I get to perform live next time, I will come and find you guys. Of course, I'll come and say hi. But the real promise is first round's on me.
Yeah.
That might include me bringing a whole entire case of PBR right into the bar. Like, here you guys go.
Hey, we will always accept. We have a studio that we have we have a couple fridges, and they're always stocked for SoulKiller Sundays.
No Malort!
Well, speaking of PBR, let me turn this around here. There is a PBR mini fridge in the corner right there. So do I have to bring
Dude.
that out to the show for be like, I have it stocked. Let's start going.
That's sick. Honestly, I need to get one of those.
That was my mini fridge in college, and I'm like, I have kept that thing forever. I am not getting rid of it.
You can't now. Never.
My dad saw that and he's like, I need to get one for myself. So he did. It's his garage fridge. The exact same look too. I'm like, you stole it from me. I don't really care though. It's just funny.
Nice.
But now it's time for number 3, guys. As we bring this episode to conclusion, I cannot end this by saying goodbye because I would love to have you guys back on the podcast again in the future for that full length because this was a hell of a lot of fun. Beyond that, though, I know I'm going to see you guys play live. I got to make good on that promise. Saying goodbye is way too final. I don't like saying that. So I like to end it by saying this. I'll see you later.
We'll see you soon.
Well, folks, I'm interviewing Shawn and Zach from the band SoulKiller. Now it's time for Kevin's final thought. And this is where I'm going to go with this one. So, yes, I know this is coming out after the EP Breathless releases. Yes, I am aware of that. But when we recorded this, this was the day, actually the night before we released our episode with Skillet and John Cooper. So this kind of all ties perfectly hand in hand with how both episodes work. I'm very incredibly happy and very kind of moved at how Shawn spoke about his time, especially Christian Music Scene with I the Breather, the stuff that he saw, and now the focus that he puts on just trying to be a good person, just trying to put positivity out there, and how their music is trying to put positivity not only in the hands of the people listen to it, but themselves and to the people around them as well. I mean, he talks so positive about the women of SoulKiller, where they deserve a good amount of credit too. I mean, when I've seen them play live, those women were supporting the band. They were out there on the floor with us, jamming out. Of course, they didn't mosh with us, but we saw them out there. We saw Shawn's kids out there as well. We saw them behind the merch table. We saw them getting into it both times. And at that point in time, too, I mean, if you're going to be in a band, and you're going to want that support. But going back to what the whole entire, Christianity thing on there and spreading positivity, it takes me back to one thing I talked about with John Cooper, where he was talking about you don't have to be a part of, believe in the same things he does. You don't have to, think the same way he does. You have to be in Christianity like he is. All that matters is just like, to him was, are you a good person? Someone I can get along with, someone that I can connect with. And essentially that's what Shawn's showing here. So you're seeing it in two different capacities from people that were in the Christian music scene. Shawn, former, John Cooper still in there, but it's still a beautiful thing to the point where you can come from all different walks of life, and the positivity that you can bring to people can be so profound, and SoulKiller is doing with their music. I mean, you got to go see them live. So be sure to check out the brand new EP Breathless. Be sure to check out everything there is to check out with SoulKiller. The script to the podcast below has everything, links and labels for their social media, where you can find them online, where you can check them out at a live show when it's going to happen near you, where you can stream their music and go follow along with them, because we want to help them get big. So go make sure you follow them, because that's going to help you make them big too. Also, I want to make sure you hit subscribe to the Chord Progression Podcast. If you're on YouTube, it's right down here. Yeah. Hit the follow button on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Hit the like button on this episode to help push in the algorithm. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Links are below as well. Thank you, Shawn. Thank you, Zach. Cannot wait to have you guys on again, along with the rest of the band. On that note, that's going to be everybody. Thank you for listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one. That was a big, healthy, and hearty. See ya! Yeah.